Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to All India Radio Houston. I am Dr. Nik Nkam, and now during the second half of the hour, we are going to be talking about immigration and other legal matters. My special guests are Bashist Sharma and Mala Sharma, and they are immigration attorneys, and they also do all kinds of different legal services. So let us. First of all, welcome you to All India Radio Houston. We are delighted to have you, Bashist and Mala.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nick. And
or you can just call me Nick.
okay, Nick, thank you very much, and I'm proud to be here.
Okay,
Thanks
let's talk about what are the different kinds of legal services that you're. Tell us about your law firm and what kind of services you provide.
Yeah, briefly, about myself. I've been practicing law in Houston area for a little over 20 years.
Yeah.
Recently, for the last 8 years, I was joined by my eldest daughter.
Yeah.
Anjali.
A little bit into the mic. Yeah.
Anjali. I have 4 daughters in total. Anjali is the eldest, and she helps out. She spearheads the immigration department.
Yeah.
More recently, I've been joined by Mala, who's sitting next to me here.
Yeah.
She's helping out with and spearheading the litigation department.
I see.
Our firm is varied in that we do a lot of immigration work.
Yeah.
All sorts of immigration, including family petition, litigation, deportation, under regular business visas, and all of those. We also do criminal defense. I do myself. We do commercial litigation. So we're pretty varied, and we have the staff to hand it. We have paralegals also with us to help us out.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are listening to All India Radio Houston, and you can also watch this on YouTube, which is live streamed at this time. And we are talking about immigration. My special guests are Bashist Sharma and Mala Sharma. Okay, let's talk about. Let's start off with immigration, because it's a hot topic. It's been in the news all the last 4 to 6 weeks, and President Obama took a very bold step in giving this executive order, which has already been challenged in Pennsylvania by one of the federal judges. So maybe you can educate me and all the listeners about this immigration. What is the real issue, and what is the discontent between the White House and the Congress?
Yeah, I've heard a lot about it, and Mala, would you like to discuss that?
Definitely. Basically, the opinion by the judge in Pennsylvania has no legally binding effect. The executive order is precedent. The president is the head of the executive branch, and if Congress does not like an executive order, Congress can issue a bill, but the president may always veto that bill. Basically, Congress needs a 2/3 vote to override the president's executive order, although the president has that inherent power as head of the executive branch.
Regarding that case, Mala, can you tell the viewers a little bit about the Pennsylvania judge and what that case was about, and why it is not relevant legally?
That case was about a criminal matter. Did not have any relevance to the president's executive order. And the judge basically wanted to be the first federal judge to interject with his opinion, although the judiciary can only review such actions as the president his executive order is preceded.
Yeah, the way I understand also, Nick, for your viewers also, is that this was a criminal case where somebody had been deported and snuck back into the country. And the issues before the court didn't have nothing to do with the president's executive order. So nobody really asked this judge's opinion. And there was issues not before the court. I suppose, Mala is saying, he just wanted to get ahead of the cameras.
Maybe because there are 24 states which have officially filed suit against the president's executive order, and that may take a while to come to the forefront.
And then what happened there? We have next door in Arizona, we have the sheriff. I think his name is Joe Arpaio or something like that. He's quite a colorful character, and he's been doing all kinds of weird things. the least of which was not he makes the prisoners dress up in pink and he makes them sleep outside without air conditioning and all that. But anyway, he filed a lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of the president's executive order. And of course, 24 states jumped in. No surprise, Texas is one of the states that jumped in. In my professional opinion, in my expert opinion, I don't think that lawsuit is going anywhere. It's merely prophylactic, and it's going to make some people happy. But like Mala is saying, the president has that inherent authority. Because this is orders under the executive branch, and the president has the authority to make these orders, and it's been done many times by many presidents.
Maybe either one of you can answer all the elements that were in the president's executive order. How does this affect our Desi population who are like potential candidates for getting some of these amnesty or work visas?
No, that's a dirty word. Like, you know that the word amnesty is a dirty word.
Okay, work visa.
We don't use that word.
Okay. I'm not a lawyer, I'm a heart specialist. That's why I invite experts to educate us.
When you use that word, you give lawyers a heart attack.
Maybe we'll expand on that. Let's talk about how it affects the Desi community, like Indian, Pakistani, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, all these people.
Right. We have a lot of South Asians, generally that are politically correct to say.
But I don't have to stick to politics. I'm a journalist, and I like to call people.
Right, and you do an excellent job of it. Now, we have the DACA, which was the Deferred Action for Childhood Entrance. We already know about that. If someone were to come here before they were 16 years old and don't have criminal background and been here by a certain date, they can apply for deferred action. Basically means that you get a work permit, you don't get a green card directly, but they don't deport you. It's deferred. It's kind of like previous presidents have done for Nicaragua and all these countries, what they call the TPS, or it's kind of like a withholding of removal. So what this new executive order does, it expanded a little bit. It's valid now for 3 years. The DACA is valid for 3 years for the children. And it expands the eligibility of the DACA in that the cutoff time, usually the cutoff time would have been June 15th of 2007. The president made it January of 2010 now. So it makes more kids eligible to apply for it.
I see,
And as far as the new one, it's for the parents. So they call it DAP for same thing, but they apply it to the parents now. Parents that have children who are residents or citizens, it does the same thing. It'll give them a work permit, but it'll not directly lead to green card. It might in the future. It's our hope that it will in the future lead to a green card or allow them to adjust by marrying a U.S. citizen or through job or some other way to adjust to become citizens or actually residents. They have to have arrived in the United States before January of 2010, which is pretty broad, which is generous. The child of that person, because remember, this is through a child, must have been born by November 20th of 2014. The age of the child doesn't really matter. And we know, and as far as the documents, we're not exactly sure what documents they'll have to have. But we know for sure they're going to need to prove their relationship with the children or child, and to also gather up documents to show they were here, and all those things. And of course, they can get a work permit, and hopefully it'll lead to something.
So how long does this work permit stay in effect?
The DACA itself or the DAP itself lasts for 3 years.
3 years.
Generally, work permits last for a year at a time.
I see.
Because this is new. It's not really in effect as yet, so we're not exactly sure about the fine details.
Okay, let's talk about somebody from India or Pakistan or Bangladesh who's been here for like 6 to 10 years. They don't have all these papers.
Right.
Are they going to be eligible to get the visa?
It depends on
or a work permit.
Correct. It depends on their status. Like most people come from the South Asian community. They'll come with a student visa or a visitor, the B1, B2 visitor visa, or even an H1B. They come with some kind of visas. when they do that, eventually the visa runs out, and they become, at that point, they have to do something, either go back home or adjust to a resident, a permanent resident, LPR. In that situation, various options are available to them. Most convenient, of course, is marrying a United States citizen. And then they can get within 3 months, they can get a work permit. Within 6 months, they can get a green card. Usually, some of them come here and they're illegal, coming from and they are illegal. In that case, they face, of course, well, everybody, if they're not a citizen, they face the prospect of deportation or removal. So if you'd like, I can go into that a little bit and show.
Particularly, I'm interested in our Desi community. Somebody has been here illegally for 10 years, and they can prove they have been here illegally for 10 years. Will they get a work permit like the rest of the illegal immigrants coming from Mexico or Honduras or anywhere else?
Oh, yes. The rule applies to everybody.
I see,
The key thing is for the parents is if they have a family member, a child usually, who is a resident or a citizen. Usually, while they're here illegal, they have a child born to them. And the law applies equally to everyone. So
that means if somebody from, let's say, from India, who's been here illegally, and they have a child who is born, of course, they have a citizen. Correct. So they should be automatically eligible to the work permit and the freedom to stay.
Correct. It'd be eligible. The big caveat, of course, is a criminal background.
Oh, I see.
Because they scrutinize very carefully whether the person has a criminal background.
If they have a criminal background, will they send the U.S. citizen child also out of the country?
No, they won't.
This gets very sticky.
Right. It's so many sub issues here. And one of the caveats, of course, is that immigration law is not like the family code where you can just open the book and look it up. Most of the immigration law evolved through a lot of executive orders and Congress and case law. So it's kind of complicated, especially the litigation end of it. But to answer the question, if somebody is here illegally, they're, of course, susceptible to be removed or deported from the country. However, if they've been here, 3 or 4 of options are available to them. And sometimes it's better for them to go into deportation, for them to be charged. It's called a notice to appear, an NTA. That's the official charge. A lot of times, once they're charged, then we can get them a green card. Through the immigration court instead of. Whereas with the agency itself, with the USCIS, there's no venue for getting a green card. But if they charge up and try to deport them, we can get them a green card sometimes.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to All India Radio Houston. I am Dr. Nik Nkam. We are talking about immigration and other legal matters related to our Desi community. And my special guests are Bashist Sharma and Mala Sharma. We are talking about immigration. I have a couple of more questions before we move on to all the other type of legal services that you provide. Number one is, if these people are all anywhere from 3 to 5 million people were to get work permits, doesn't it tax the immigration system? And who's going to pay for all these things? And the second question is going to be, all those who are waiting in line, are they not going to be penalized? And how do we answer that part?
Yeah, of course, that's a question that's normally raised from, and it usually comes from the right. I don't want to get political. But
politics and law go hand in hand. Let's face it.
But
I mean, all your rules are laid out by politicians.
Well, you know what they say. Most of the legislators are lawyers. And that's why most people don't understand what the heck they're saying anyway. But if the program is going to fund itself, and it's actually going to create a windfall for the government. First of all, there's a filing fee. It's $465 is the filing fee. And there's going to be additional fees. In addition to that, a lot of people are working and they're not being taxed. So we're going to get the benefit of all those tax income streams coming in. So most people that have looked into the issue believe that it's going to be a windfall for the government. And legalizing all these people is going to actually help the country by getting them out of the shadows. Now, regarding the other part of your question, well, what about all of us that lined up and waited our turn to come into the country? That's, of course, that's the weight should not be affected.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't seem fair that some of us have to wait in line. Some guys just jump ahead of the line and just come in. But then again, America is a humanitarian society.
Yeah.
We've always been the golden gate for people that are beleaguered or tortured and mistreated in their own land. That is what we stand for, a beacon of light. And should we just look at the lines and apply that concept only, would be denying what we really stand for as Americans, which is to help people that are in distress coming from all over the world. And these people really are in distress. Right now, myself and Mala and my other daughter, Anjali, we help a lot of these kids that came across the border that we've been hearing so much about recently. And a lot of these children come without anything. And you'd see their mothers, so-called mothers, are teenagers. Teenage mothers, toting two little children. Now, these poor people, they're not going to come to America just to offend the right. They're coming here because of dire circumstances. And sometimes you see these kids, and you really have to have a heart. And if you see these kids, there's no way you can say, well, just deport them. And something that most people are not aware of and is that the government is denying bond to these people. They're holding them there. A lot of them are being held without bond. In fact, my daughter Anjali is fighting the government now because she fought the court, got bond for this mother and two little children, and the government is appealing the trial court's decision that they should not get bond. Now, interestingly, the ACLU and the immigration lawyers, I know I'm diverging a little bit. That's very interesting for me as a practitioner in the area, is that the ACLU and the AILF filed a lawsuit against the government that is not constitutional. You can't just hold people just because you think they're coming here for benefits. You know, there's a criteria for issuing bonds, and they're suing. And our office is handling one of those cases. And I was glad to see that the ACLU and bigger groups are taking on the issue now.
That's very good. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to All India Radio Houston, and we are coming on 1090 KULF Radio Houston. My special guests are Bashist Sharma and Mala Sharma. We are talking about immigration and legal matters of concern to our South Asian. So let me be politically correct here. That matters to South Asian population. Mala, maybe you can tell us about some other immigration issues that your office deals with, and then we'll move on to some other types of services that you provide in your location.
Well, we provide all services in immigration, consular processing, FOIA, DACA, DAP, and basically my sister and my dad and I have the litigation and the team support to handle all these cases.
I know you don't deal with visa to India or some other countries, and that's always a bottleneck when somebody is trying to go to their own country. Can you tell us something about, why is such an issue about getting visa, or is there one? And if so, how can we expedite things?
Well, interestingly, I'll tell you a little story about myself.
Oh, I see.
As you know,
more personal.
Right. As you know, I was born in the West Indies. My ancestors left.
You didn't go into cricket?
No, not cricket. Most of them went there to work in the sugar plantations in the 1850s, 1860s. Some of them were involved in the first Indian uprising, and the British wanted to hang them. Hung a few of them, and some escaped to West Indies. But we were going to India for the first time in a few years ago. My whole family were going, and so we called the airlines and we asked them, "Do we need a visa?" In those days, says, "Are you Indian?" "Yes, we're Indian." "Okay, you don't need a visa. You can come." So we got to the airport and we were checking in. This looked at the passports. "Okay, where's your visa?" "Well, you told us we don't need a visa." So they kicked us out of the airport. We had to go to the consulate, get a visa. In those days,
you missed your flight and all this.
Yeah, we had to reschedule a flight. But interestingly, when we got to India, the immigration officer was such a nice guy. He saw that we were Indians. He saw our name and he says, "Welcome back home," after almost 200 years.
I know.
So that was really sweet of him. But now with the new government, the progressive new Indian government, they have the ETA program. I was researching on it because you can actually go online now and apply for a visa. It makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. How long does it usually take? Because whenever we have like functions or something at Vipin's place in India House, the visa question always is one of the topics that are discussed, because especially during close to holidays, people are trying to get to India or Pakistan somewhere. And they always say, well, and I'm waiting for the visa.
Yeah. People from most of the countries can actually go online and apply.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take very long at all. I don't have personal experience exactly how long it takes.
Yeah.
And you can also apply online on personally now. You can show up and apply, but I wouldn't suggest that.
Vipin has a point.
I think Prime Minister Modi announced that now American citizen can get visa on arrival.
Oh, on arrival. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't have much problem when I went to India in 2006. It took me just like one day to go because I had limited time at that juncture. So I think maybe they need to have all the right papers.
Well, what Vipin is talking about, the ETA program. Yeah. But like I said, I wouldn't put my money on that too much. I'd just get a visa before I go there.
I know.
Because after you spend all this time going there.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to All India Radio Houston. We are coming to you on 1090 KULF Radio Houston. I am Dr. Nik Nkam, and we are talking about immigration. And my special guests are Bashist Sharma and Mala Sharma. Okay, let's talk about change gears. And we can sit here and talk all day long about immigration. Let's talk about some of the other legal services that you all provide. And what is the most interesting part of your practice?
By far, the most exciting one is criminal defense. And we also do a lot of, which Mala does a lot of personal injuries. People get involved in accidents.
Family law.
And commercial litigation. We also do quite a bit of that. But the one of the interesting areas is where criminal law intersects with immigration. That's of particular interest to our community because a typical story, for example, I'll give you a little war story. A good, very decent family. In fact, the guy was a medical doctor. Very nice people. Went out, had have a little after hours with friends. Came home. The spouse was a little bit unhappy about it. Nothing unusual there. So if I can be a little bit sexist, but then got into a little argument. He had a couple drinks. He's okay. He had a few drinks. During the argument, she was going to pick up the phone to call somebody. So he just pulled the phone off the wall. Just to tell her, hey, cool off a little bit. Didn't hit her, done nothing like that. Just pulled the phone off the wall. She used another phone. She called, the police came over. Or I'm not sure. I think the neighbor heard some kind of noise. Somebody called, the police came up. But of course, they arrested the guy. And when you get arrested, he has so much to lose. On top of it all, he is a green card holder. He worked his way up through, and we know what somebody has to go through to become a doctor. It's not easy, especially coming with nothing. Arrested, and what they're charged with what is called family violence. With family violence, with a green card, of course, after he took a criminal defense attorney. The attorney said, well, it's simple. We'll just take a little probation, get it over with, and be quiet. So they did. They did a probation. However, immigration arrested him. This is family violence. They put him in deportation. That's where we came into the picture. We didn't know about the criminal case, else we could have told him, how to handle that. Because you can handle a criminal case so it does not incur deportation or removal. If you can structure it or fight it and win it. Especially if the other party, the complaining witness, is cooperating. And in that situation, we have to try to get him, because he had a green card, it was easier to get him. There's a thing called cancellation of removal. And I don't want to get technical, but you can ask the judge to give him back his green card because of certain criteria, like he's been here long enough, he doesn't have any serious criminal record other than this one, and he's sorry, and we can't coach them what to say. We have to tell them to speak the truth, but we explain to them what other people have done that has been successful. And he's lucky he got his green card back.
That's interesting because domestic violence is prevalent in all social
in all
ethnic groups. I mean, it has no relationship to the economics or social status, and it is becoming more and more evident now because of all the social media and all this. And there were a couple of domestic violence cases where even murder and all this.
Well,
related to.
Unfortunately, in the South Asian community, it becomes big news, and usually in the other communities, family violence is not so much of a big news. But then it is a problem. If it is a problem, we have to have zero tolerance for any kind of domestic violence.
Yeah.
But that's beside the issue. I mean, I don't want to encroach on the therapist's turf here.
I know. Mala, maybe you can give out your contact information and where your office is located. So if people have any questions about immigration and other legal matters, maybe they will know how to get in touch with you.
Definitely. Our office is located at 14411 Cornerstone Village, Houston, Texas 77014. And our office number is 281-893-8644. You can call anytime. Our website is sharmalaws.net. And you can call with any legal question, even if you feel that you won't get any recourse. Just give us a call. It's a free first-time consultation. We can see if we can help you in any other opportunity that you may have. And thank you so much for having us on the air today.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we still have a few more questions.
Okay.
Because, so when somebody comes with, or somebody marries a U.S. citizen, which is very common, they marry a boy or a girl from India, they come here, they have master's degree in India and all these things, but they can't pursue their profession. Like some of them are doctors.
Right.
So how can you help these people to get ahead? Can they even work?
Right. Well, if they're here on their visa, the original visa expired. I mean, I'm assuming they came with some kind of visa. Then, of course, they cannot adjust.
Yeah.
The only way they can adjust if they're out of status, that's what they call it, out of status. Is that they can, by marrying a U.S. citizen, a lot of people marry U.S. citizens.
Yeah.
If they do that, as long as they came in with a visa originally, they can adjust, and within 6 months, they can, usually it was 6 months, they can have their own green card.
I see.
3 months, they can have a work permit.
Yeah.
Sometimes they come without any papers at all. If that's the case, they have two options. If prior to 2000, like before 2001, they had, it's called a grandfather clause, 245I. I'm sure you heard about that. If they had filed some kind of family petition, then now they can adjust also by marrying a U.S. citizen. If they came in illegally, then at that they have to do either go back, do a consular processing, which means go back to their home and pick up their green card. That could take a while. Sometimes they'll have to wait there. I've seen people wait months up to a year, depending. And also, but they can avoid that by doing what is called a waiver.
I see.
And that's one of the things the Obama.
I was going to come to that with this new Obama executive order. This leaving the country for a certain length of period. That doesn't apply anymore, does it?
Well, it still applies, but it shortens the distance you have to go.
I see.
Because you can apply here now instead of going there, then applying for the waiver. You apply now and you wait here for it.
I see.
Live your life normally. When the interview comes up, you just go there for a little vacation and pick up your papers, come back.
So they don't have to leave the United States.
They do, but just to pick up your paper, the visa.
Oh, I see. But, I mean, they have to go to India or Pakistan, wherever they are applying.
Right, just to pick up the papers.
I see.
And this last executive order actually expands that a little bit more also. It helps out, because normally you'd have to show that your dependent family here will suffer egregiously, the hardship. That has been softened up a little bit. So it's not that difficult to show that kind of hardship for the family.
No wonder nobody else can understand these legal matters except lawyers.
Well, the thing is, it's
it is so complex. It's all individualized, I think.
And there's no particular code you can go by and get a whole comprehensive list of all the rules and regulations.
Actually, it's the same thing. Even I've been practicing cardiology for 35 years. Every time I see a patient, it's a new entity. I mean, we may put all this knowledge together, but it has to be tailor-made to that particular individual to see how best we can serve that person. And I guess in all professions, I guess it's like that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about immigration and legal matters. My special guests are Bashist Sharma and Mala Sharma. And again, maybe give out your contact information, and maybe we'll close with a couple of other questions about asylum and student visas and artists and all this other stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like Mala was saying, we're in the northwest side of town.
Yeah.
Close to FM 1960 by 45, close to the Bush Airport. But nowadays, people hardly go to lawyers' offices, unlike doctors' offices. They just call us, they send us their stuff by email or fax.
Everything is.
Most of my clients, I see them for the first time in court.
I see.
Yeah, when we go to court, if we end up in court,
yeah,
they'll see me and, oh, so you're the guy I've been talking to. Yeah, yeah. And the other thing, Dr. Nik, the cardiologist, you really owe lawyers a big time, because the lawyers give them the heart attack and then they have to come for a service to your service.
You know, along the same lines, I was another meeting, because this was also in India House, and all these people were talking during the cocktail hour, and they said, there are two people you shouldn't make mad. One is Bhagavan, and the other one is a doctor, especially a cardiologist. They said, right. If you make Bhagavan mad, he will send you to your doctor, and if your doctor gets mad, he's going to send you to the Bhagavan.
Exactly. That's right.
So I guess, you know, we have to be sort of careful about what we say or do.
But, you know, in our very, very stressful profession, sometimes we have to take it with a grain of salt and lighten up a little bit, else we go crazy.
It's absolutely right. Even in medicine, you know, without humor, you just can't survive, because it is, ours is like a constant stress in terms of dealing with the patients, dealing with the disease, dealing with the outcomes, you know, right. Sometimes which may not be really pleasant. But anyway, let's get back to legal issues here, and how difficult it is to get visa for students, artists, and under what circumstances can someone claim an asylum?
Okay, as far as the two, it's a two-part question. Quickly, I'll just quickly tell you about the. Those are called non-immigrant visas.
I see. Yeah.
And you have various right. The various types. For example, the students will usually do an F visa.
Yeah.
And that's usually they'll apply through the university, and they'll get. Usually, the foreign student office is very helpful.
How easy it is to get a student, because every university I see, there are a lot of students from India.
Right. Well, the Indian kids, most of the universities recruit and give them scholarships.
Yeah, I see.
Because they do very well in their academic.
Like the unfortunate incidents of these Texas A&M 5 students, engineering students, who were
that is so sad.
In a very, very sad accident. And that's when I came to know that they were all from India, and all their parents were in India.
Oh, yeah. It was really sad. But these are top students. They're very dedicated, very bright. And they come out from school doing really tremendous jobs in their professions. I'm really proud of them. But usually the foreign student office helps them out, and you can go there, or they can even go on the USCIS website, and there's an area there. There are different buttons as to what kind of visa you want. They'll give you a lot of good information. They even give you the form to fill out. The visitor visa, it's slightly different.
Yeah.
You have to show that, depend which route you want to come, as for pleasure or for business. You have to have some documentation showing that you're not going to stay, and you have the wherewithal to return home and to pay for your trip, or have somebody do it for you, and what you're going to be doing, and show some backup documentation. And then you have the H-1Bs and all that, which is very popular. But more importantly, and those, you know, you can get those usually filling out forms.
Yeah.
And I'm really bored filling out forms. We have the paralegals, so I don't, but, you know, we do it. And it's very interesting sometimes. But the exciting part is, like you're saying, is the asylum. Those get to the litigation side. And for asylum, you have to prove several things. You have to prove that you're afraid to go back to your country.
Yeah.
First of all, it has to be done within a year. A lot of people screw up. That's very, very important.
Yeah.
A lot of people wait until too late to apply for asylum within 1 year. Or the exception is if after you have left, conditions changed in your country. For example, I did one for a Pakistani guy, and we showed that he was here for 20-something years.
Yeah.
And the judge asked me, why are you applying for asylum now? And I told him, well, he was a supporter of President Musharraf.
Yeah.
And then Sharif came into power.
Yeah.
He does not care much about Musharraf supporters. And therein was our excuse and how we were able to frame it into. It takes some creativity, and you have to think. And you have to spend a lot of time with the client and get to the bottom of it and find out what it is. But first thing you got to do is file within a year. Second thing, you have to show that you're scared to go back because of one of 5 groups. One is like your political, like you're afraid because of the politics, or because your religion, or because you belong to some member of a certain group. And and the other thing is why the police will not do anything to help you. And that's why you're scared to go back and you're going to be hurt.
I see.
It helps if you can show. Most of the issues people face is, what group do I belong to? They think, okay, I'm scared of the gangs. Well, they'll deport you. It doesn't matter. Everybody's scared of gangs. And what group? You have to fit it within the framework of a group that is recognized.
But they have to produce some documents to show that, they are like a strong supporter of one political party or some special group like that.
A political opinion you have to show. Usually the party bosses will send us some letters, or we have something from the news. Also, a lot of people are not aware of is that the government keeps track. There's a State Department report. The State Department, they investigate and they write a report on the country conditions each year.
Well, I'm sure they're keeping very close tab of all these donations, where they come and where they go.
And the judges read those, unfortunately. The judges actually read.
It's been fascinating discussion. Maybe, Mala, you can tell us what are your plans as a lawyer? What particular area do you like to specialize in?
Well, I'm definitely leaning towards commercial litigation and continuing our immigration. So I also, there are always open options to grow the business and take it above and beyond.
Oh,
so
that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, Mala and Bashist, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and we are delighted you were able to come on All India Radio and share your views on immigration and criminal justice and all different types of immigration and visa topics. It's a pleasure, and maybe we'll meet again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to All India Radio Houston, and this is Dr. Nik Nkam, and we will see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend.